2nd November, 4:57 p.m., Naruhodo's Legal Consultancy. Wir wurden einfach von dem Hund angegriffen. Bitte was? Bin im Koffer. Da ist der Spaten. Da ist Susato. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. Are you alright? Miss Susato. Ah, conscious again at last. A blessed relief, my dear fellow. After all, to drop dead after a moderate licking by a small terrier. Most unseemly. What is this? Well, what is or isn't seemly is irrelevant here, Mr. Sholmes. I'm so glad there's no lasting damage. How are you feeling? I'm fine, thank you. Did you bring me back here? Ah, what's this on my head? A bandage? Sadly, we had no ice, so that's a compass of sugar water. Sugar water? Don't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. It's a first aid treatment that my father taught me. Oh, thank you. So, let us take tea when you're feeling up to it. But of course, no sugar in the patient's cup. The bump on my head is throbbing sweetly enough, don't worry. Hehe, whenever you feel ready then. Okay. Examen würde ich dann mal machen und den Spaten, okay, der Spaten nicht. Converse? What to do, okay. Ich würde einfach mal mit Turlock reden, weil der hat ja scheinbar die Akten von Clint van Siegs, den Autopsiebericht. Weil erstmal, was hat Susato hier? Das interessiert mich kurz. My desk is just as it was before I left. Sumi ink in a calligraphy brush, even though we are in England now. That strike me as typically you, Mr. Sato, and typically not you at the same time. Well, I do enjoy all the wonderful new things to come out of the West and the Cultural Revolution, of course. But I'm not ready to give up on my brush just yet. And anyway, Susato-san can write more neatly with a brush than most people can with a pen. Practice makes perfect, as they say. Okay, dann reden wir mit Sholmes. Thank you for your concern, Mr. Sholmes. My dear fellow, think nothing of it. I must say I was quite startled when I heard that you'd been attacked by a dog. For a moment, I feared that infamous murderer of many had come back from the dead. Stimmt, der Professor meint er damit, weil er ja auch mit einem Hund die Leute umgebracht hat. You mean the professor? Fortunately, I see your prize throat is unscathed. That stiff, turned-up collar of yours obviously afforded some welcome protection. Was I that close to death? All I really remember is the dog licking my face over and over and over again. Well, if you wish to avoid such troubles in future, a little mustard spread on the cheeks should do the trick. I should think that would balance the sweetness of your bandage rather splendidly. Okay. Dann weiß ich nicht. Müssen wir runtergehen? Zum Tee trinken? Ich denke mal, ne? Second November, Sholmes Suite.
Er mit dem Schwarzbiergebot, brodelnd wie ein Feuerberg, den Schlund es mir verbrannt, ach Hopfen deine Wut. Herr mit dem Knacker, ich befahl, hat wie ein Diamant.
Das ist Deutsch.
Den Zahn entzwei es brach, o über deine Wut.
Das ist Deutsch. Was geht ab?
Und auf den ersten
What on earth is going on in here? Am I having a bad dream? Okay, es ist Deutsch und Mikotoba scheint auch scheinbar ausgenockt zu sein.
Her mit dem Schwarzbiergebot.
Ah, no, it's an old German folk song. Rather a fine rendition, I think. That's the least of my concerns.
Ach, Hopfen, deine Wut.
Hopfen, deine Wut.
Her mit dem
Iris?
Befahl, hat wie ein
Iris, what's the matter?
Den Zahn in Zweie,
Oh nein, hat sie es erfahren? Who is that sprawling, that relaxed gentleman over there? Das ist dein Vater, Susato.
Und auf den ersten Streich.
Iris, is she even listening? Excuse me, sir. I do apologize for troubling you with your singing so merrily, but would you be kind enough to explain the situation? Well, that worked. A crooning gentleman and a mute young girl. A rather tantalizing juxtaposition. And one that appears to have incited the gods of deduction within me to find their voices too. Ah, Mr. Sholmes! Do you mean? Okay, ich glaube, jetzt geht's los. The strains of reasoning within me are playing now as a delightful duet. One melody sings of a reunion full of nostalgia, whilst the other is a morose theme of the great secret you are trying so desperately conceal. Iris. She's turned as white as a sheet. So as usual, you've instantly seen to the very heart of the matter. And by the time my own brief performance is over, I feel sure this gentleman's song will reach its finale. So then, to Musicland, where all is sweetness and delicacy and harmony. Pray, do enjoy Sherlock Holmes' latest Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. Ich hab Bock. The Great Deduction. The game is the fruit. Topic 1. Man's identity. Firstly, we consider the gentleman's nationality. Clearly, he's a German with no grasp of the English language. Das ist doch Mikotoba, das sieht man doch. As evidenced by the Germanic song he sings and his apparent inability to understand when asked to desist. So, why is a man here at all? And in such apparently high spirits? The answer, of course, Iris, is clearly known to you. Indeed, we need only follow the gaze of those bright young eyes to unravel that particular part of this mystery. The reason for the man's mildly irritated warbling is revealed by the herbal tea. You obviously offered our German guest a cup of your latest herbal blend. The tea's delectable flavor has made the man's spirits soar, and resulted in this joyful ditty tumbling incessantly from his lips. I eagerly await sampling the flavor myself, that I may join the fellow in a state of elation. Now, to the next question. Warte, was? The reason the German guessed a cup of your latest herbal tea, and his delicate flavor has made the man's spirit soar, in his joyful ditty tumbling incessantly from his lips. Was ist tumbling? Tumbling. Fallend. Oder, warte. Taumeln. Irgendwas so. Incessantly. Unaufhörlich. Ah, okay. The flavor myself. I may join the fellow in a state of elation. Was ist elation? Elation. Euphorie. Now to the next question. Who exactly is this gentleman availing himself so thoroughly of the settee? As it happens, a number of years ago now, a certain gentleman of German origin engaged my services in solving a particular delicate case. He required the retrieval of letters once sent to an acquaintance that might have proved problematic. In order to conceal his noble identity, he also arrived at my office in a mask. The gentleman's name was Wilhelm Gottsreich Sigismund von Ornstein. The King of Germany. In my memory serves, the mask worn by this gentleman is identical. Wilhelm Gottsreich Sigismund von Ornstein, das war doch der kleine böhmische Junge, der im letzten Fall ausgesagt hat. Oder nicht? Das ist identical, das ist Kazumas Maske. Yes, there can be no question. That mask belongs to the King of Germany. It would appear that His Majesty remembers the fine service I afforded him, and has decided to show his face again, mask and all, in order to express his gratitude. A well-mannered monarch indeed. Wouldn't you agree, my dear fellow? So the identity of this masked visitor is in fact my former client, the King of Germany. Indeed, his son is currently in London as well, enjoying the wonders of the great exhibition. Ach so, das war der Sohn. Okay. Der König von Deutschland. Conclusion: The King of Germany. Das alles und noch viel mehr würde ich machen, wenn ich König von Deutschland war. Topic 2, Girls' Silence. Which leaves us with one remaining imponderable, yes, you, young Iris. But your apparently inexplicable silence is unable to hide the truth. Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside that knapsack. A £5 note, I believe. I must say, as a compatriot, I'm deeply saddened. It would appear that you've allowed yourself to be wiped into silence by His Royal Highness, earning yourself some spending money in exchange for keeping quiet about the king's secret. And now, the final piece of the puzzle. What is the secret you strive to hide with your silence, Iris? Ah yes, we need only follow that brief, involuntary twitch of your eyes to find the answer. You were attempting to abscond with that coffee cup. Abscond? Abscond. Verschwinden, achso. My favorite coffee cup, in fact. Or should I say, the handle of my favorite coffee cup. It appears that His High-Spirited Highness broke it in the midst of his high jinks. Which leads us to the sad truth. My favorite coffee cup has been broken by the King of Germany. And Iris, you tried to conceal it from me. I shall order a bill sent via governmental channels to the German royal family for its replacement. Conclusion: to hide the coffee cup. Ich glaube, Sherlock ist ein bisschen far off. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction of this painful puzzle.
Schwarzbierchen bodend wie
Was geht hier ab?
Feuerberg, den Schlund es mir verbrannt.
With your silence as well, the fellow's jovial warbling rather rings in the ears, does it not?
Mit dem Knacker ich befahl, hat wie ein Diamant
Mr. Holmes,
den Zahn entzwei.
I must say something that's rather troubling me. Pray, Miss Susato, do tell. His Royal Highness doesn't appear to have moved a muscle since we arrived. Ah, and you haven't said a word either, Iris. If Mr. Holmes has it all right, you might as well own up to it now. Your reasoning isn't entirely without substance, I must admit. And one other thing, Mr. Sholmes. Yet another grievance, Mr. Naruhodo? Surely not. Well, I actually read the story of that case recently, the one you were just describing. And according to that at least, it wasn't the King of Germany. It was the King of Bohemia. Goodness, was it? Yes, that's quite true. Master God, the prince, testified to that in court. In his words, I have come to see the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia. I would ask you to keep that minor error to yourselves. It could easily become quite a scandal. I believe, Mr. Naruhodo, that it's our turn now to make some corrections to a number of minor errors that may have slipped in. Yes, even Mr. Sholmes is willing to admit he might be slightly wide of the mark this time. Although it's clear that Iris is definitely hiding something. We need to find out the truth behind this mysterious scene. Meine Theorie, sie hat's erfahren. Sie hat erfahren, dass ihr Vater tot ist. But one truth is incontrovertible. My favorite coffee cup is no more. So, shall we embark again? On a joint presentation of Sherlock Holmes' logic and reasoning spectacular. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Topic 1. Man's identity. Conclusions. The King of Germany. Firstly, we consider the gentleman's nationality. Clearly, he's a German with no grasp of the English language. As evidenced by the Germanic song he sings and his apparent inability to understand when asked to do this. So, why is the man here at all, and in such apparently high spirits? The answer, of course, Iris, is clearly known to you. Indeed, we need only follow the gaze of those bright young eyes to unravel that particular part of this mystery. The reason for the man's mildly irritating warbling is revealed by the herbal tea. So what? It's some mix of herbs that gives you the urge to sing. Goodness, I should like to try some. And I'd like to hear your singing, but this man, just how long does he intend to keep up with that tune, do you suppose? As I said, he's been stock still the entire time, and if you look closely, his lips aren't moving either. So I'm not sure what's actually responsible for the spirited singing, but I suspect the answer lies at the end of Iris' gaze. Okay, ich denk mal einfach, das ist dieses Grammophon hier hinten.
Take that!
The reason for the man's mildly irritating warbling is revealed by the gramophone. Indeed, for no well-bred gentleman would break into an obscure folk song when making a social call. In other words, this gentleman isn't singing at all. In fact, it would appear that the fellow is unconscious. The music seems to have stopped now. I ask you, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Why would I have purchased a recording of that gibberish? How should I know? Well, never mind. On with the deduction. Who exactly is this gentleman availing himself so thoroughly of the settee? Was ist settee? Settee. Sofa. Okay. As it happens, a number of years ago now, a certain gentleman of German origin engaged my services in solving a particular delicate case. He required the retrieval of letters once sent to an acquaintance that might have proved problematic. In order to conceal his noble identity, he also arrived at my office in a mask. The gentleman's name was Wilhelm Gottsreich Sigismund von Ormstein. The King of Germany. If my memory serves, the mask worn by this gentleman is identical. Yes, there can be no question. That mask belongs to the King of Germany. Although we've already established that it was actually the King of Bohemia. It seems Mr. Sholmes intends to persist with his Germany theory for some reason. Come to think of it, the young prince was wearing a mask as well, wasn't he? Master Gotz, the boy whom you had in tears. Don't remind me, or anyone else. Do you suppose all members of the aristocracy of mainland Europe wear masks? I'm sure they do. Well, probably anyway. The point is that mask doesn't belong to any king. No, that's right, as we well know. Because we can identify the true owner of this mask. Kazuma, natürlich.
Take that!
Yes, there can be no question. That mask belongs to Kazuma Asogi. In other words, my memory is subliminally unreliable. Only you could try to make that sound positive. Kazuma's mask has been languishing on this metal chest for several days, though that doesn't explain why the gentleman is wearing it now. But it is now a simple matter to determine our guest's true identity. After all, the gentleman is unconscious. We need only excuse ourselves in advance, gently lift the mask and peer beneath it. Wer hätte es gedacht? I don't believe it. Ah! Father? I'm afraid, Mrs. Sato. You must be mistaken. No! I think not, Mr. Sholmes. Then it would appear our logic and reasoning has once again revealed the truth. This mysterious visitor ist my unconscious father, Eugene Mikotoba. Nice, dass Susato jetzt auch mal so eine Szene kriegt. Logic and reasoning? Or just looking and saying? Conclusion, Eugene Mikotoba. Solved. Girl silence. Topic 2, conclusion, to hide the coffee cup. Which leaves us with one remaining imponderable. Yes, you, young Iris. But your apparently inexplicable silence is unable to hide the truth. Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside that knapsack. So that's a 5-pound note poking out from Iris' knapsack, is it? Oh dear, I can't be sure. Most money that we encounter is in coin form. I know, I'm not even sure if we've seen any banknotes here in Britain at all, have we? But anyway, father would never have paid money for Iris' silence. He certainly seems like the silent type himself though, judging by his present state. There must be some other reason for Iris' silence, I suppose. Perhaps what Iris is trying so hard not to give away with her eyes is something entirely different. Yes, the reason, blah. Persian slipper. Metal chest. Was ist der Persian slipper hier oben? This slipper features in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, doesn't it? It does. When I first saw it there on the mantelpiece, I very near fainted with excitement. Doesn't Iris keep her Elvenses in there? Was 11ses? What? 11? Zweites Frühstück, okay. Yes, that part was never mentioned in the stories. We could swap it for the Japanese equivalent of a slipper for fun. In other words, for a wooden getter sandal. But then it wouldn't be possible to hide anything inside. Which matters because... metal chest. This metal chest, it contains important documents, doesn't it? Yes, details of all the cases Mr. Jones has worked on over the years. Oh, wahrscheinlich dann auch den Autopsiebericht von Clint, oder? Written up by Iris' father, if I'm remembering correctly. Iris insists that the chest is kept locked at all times. She's never once shown me inside. Aber es ist nicht verschlossen. Well, its contents are invaluable to her, I suppose, and entirely irreplaceable. But look at it now. The catch is unlocked for once. Ah, so it is. That's hard to ignore. Very. I've never seen that chest unlocked before in all the time we've been staying at the Baker Street. A metal chest, I guess.
Take that!
Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside that metal chest. An excellent observation, for upon closer inspection, there's something different about the chest's appearance. Deswegen liegt auf Mikoto Bar auch eine Tischdecke, weil sie das von der Kiste gerissen hat. It's kept locked at all times, yet now the catch is open. Evidently, this has something to do with your refusal to speak, Iris. But it's a simple enough matter to incite you to speak, I'm sure. I merely need open this chest. I merely need to open this chest. Here we go. No! Hurley, don't! Bitte. Was? Mr. Sholmes! Mr. Sholmes! Hurley! He's dead. Never? Oh, Hurley, I told you not to open it. Ah, so you found your voice now, Iris. Ah! In other words, what just happened clearly reveals the truth here. Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is... This is somewhat different to the usual dance of deduction you perform with Mr. Jones, isn't it? Well, he's left me alone on the ballroom floor, so I'm going to have to dance this next part solo. And anyway, I need to get to the bottom of this for my own peace of mind. Now then, Iris isn't usually the silent type, so... You mean you don't actually know the answer yet, despite the knowing point of the finger before? Miss Susato, sometimes a man needs to point his finger first and think later. Oh, well, if you say so. I think we'd better examine Iris more closely and try to rescue the situation then. Okay, Skirt. Key. Was hat sie da für einen Schlüssel, ist die Frage. Und warte. Was hat sie da? Seht? Das ist ja niedlich. Das sind sie und Herlock als Nagetiere? Die beiden hier? Süß, aber ich glaube, es ist der Key hier. That's the key she's holding, look. I'm sure that wasn't in her hands before, was it? No, you're quite right. It appeared as if by magic. That's strange. A big old iron key. Where did it materialize from? Und Knapsack nochmal? For some reason, this knapsack is really standing out as suspicious to me today. Oh, is it? It's quite sizable enough for a sizable secret, that's what I say. Perhaps it is, but we certainly can't open it up to look inside without Iris' permission. No, you're right. Who knows what might pop out and punch us? Okay, ich glaube, es ist der Schlüssel. Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is that key behind your back. Ah! When Mr. Jones was thrown into the air before. Just before you called out to try to stop him, you slipped something out of your mouth. That something is the key now in your hands. No doubt the key to the chest. Okay. You're so clever, Uno. So now it becomes clear. Thanks to Mr. Sholmes' graphic demonstration, we can well imagine what happened here. But Professor Mikotoba also opened that metal chest only to be punched into the air and land sprawled on the settee. But wait, that doesn't explain all the facts. What about the stylish scarf and the cup of tea? And above all, why would he be wearing Kazuma-sama's mask? Well, for those curious details, I can think of only one explanation. Clearly, an unbelievable miracle took place in this room. Isn't that right, Iris? Consider how the room was arranged before this whole painful experience took place. When Professor Mikotoba opened the chest, completely unaware of what awaited from him inside, the mask was flung into the air just as he was, only to land neatly on his face when it fell back down. And the teacup's journey through the air ended when it caught on the unconscious professor's finger. You mean to say that the stylish scarf is actually just a tablecloth, wie ich schon gesagt hatte. This is the great detective's office after all, a place of miraculous deductions. Would you expect anything less? Dabei muss ich einen Screenshot machen. Yes, you're right. It happened exactly as you said. Brilliant, Reno. Thus concludes Yonosuke Naruhodo's great deduction of this punchy puzzle. Geil. Cool. So then, why don't I make a fresh pot of tea for us all?
Objection!
An admirable performance, Mr. Naruhodo. But in the final act of the show there, you rather missed everything of importance. Okay. Mr. Sholmes, if you had cast your mind back to my earlier deduction. Iris, clearly you are hiding a great secret. Ah! She is, from the look on her face. Mr. Sholmes must be right. Whatever that great secret is, the cat isn't out of the bag yet. So I put it to you again. You were attempting to abscond with that coffee cup. 9. It really is a shame about Mr. Sholmes' cup. It must have been smashed when Professor Mikotoba opened the chest. Oh dear, so many things seem to have been broken here. But now that the deduction has taken a different direction, Iris doesn't seem to be trying to hide the broken cup anymore. In other words, the great secret is something else. Let's put our observation skills to work here one final time then. Okay. Nice Musik auch. Also nochmal ein bisschen variiert. Was ist hier hinten? Also, was war... Okay, da ist was. Da hinten... Knapsack. Ja, wirklich der Knapsack oder was? Surely this time, at last, the knapsack is going to be the answer. Was heißt Knapsack eigentlich? Knappsack. Rucksack, okay. Backpack einfach. I'm really not sure why you're so intent on showing Iris back to be complicit in these events. Because it's a sizable bag, big enough to carry things around, Mr. Naruhodo. That's what bags are for. So, the knapsack might never see the limelight, you mean? I really wouldn't like to say. Okay. Aber was dann? Oh, guck mal hier! Case file. Ah, look! There seem to be more papers there. Is Iris trying to hide them underneath the tray? The insignia, Mr. Naruto. It's an official Scotland Yard document. What? But why would Iris have... We must ask her. An official Scotland Yard document. Okay.
Take that!
You were attempting to abscond with that case file. Iris, as you know very well, nothing escapes the attention of a great detective. Oh no! We visited Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory earlier today, and Dr. Gowie informed us that the autopsy report of Clint Van Zieks had gone missing. Clint Van Zieks. Yes, I do seem to recall that some years ago I asked to see the report in question. You were with me, weren't you, Iris? You mean, it was you, Iris? So those papers you have there are... I'm sorry. Forgive me! Oh no. Conclusion? To hide the case file. Solved. Deduction complete. Elementary.